Welcome back to Wealth Mavericks. On today's episode, we're talking about the energy of money. Now, if you're someone who's very practical, you might think, what does that even mean? Money doesn't have energy. Now, I would say it absolutely does because everything is energy. But for the sake of our conversation today, we're talking more specifically about the energy you bring to your relationship with money, because that has a tremendous impact on the decisions you make and the financial life you create. So think about it. Your energy toward anything in life has a huge impact on the outcomes you get. The energy and attitude you bring to your work each day or to your family. Energy is felt and reflected back to you. So today we want to talk about, how do you view money? Do you love it? Does it excite you? Do you feel gratitude toward it? Or do you fear money? Do you feel scarcity around it, like there's never enough? All of these feelings impact how you approach your financial life and the outcomes that you get. Joe, we see this all the time. Two people can have the exact same income, same net worth, live completely different financial lives. So why do you think that is? Why do you think, net worth and peace of mind really often don't go together?
Well, I think you're right in that money is just, I've heard people say it best, money is just stored energy. It's if you think about wages, you go work, doing something for somebody, then that money gets transferred to you, and that's like stored up hours. And so I think sometimes people have these feelings where they're not at peace or they feel anxious about money. A lot of it, I think, just because sometimes their upbringing, like they might be working from a mindset of scarcity rather than a mindset of abundance. And by that, I mean, like when you ask someone who feels that way, often like, how much is enough? And we ask this a lot, like when we're talking about the freedom point, how much is enough? For most people, it's one more dollar.
Yeah.
It's just one more. And I don't think they've really taken the time to slow down and to think about this, especially doctors. They go through life very rapidly, very oriented towards the goal. I'm going to get my MD. I'm going to become a surgeon. I'm going to, whatever it might be, really laser focused. Now, across that process, your earning capacity has increased significantly, but your mindset might have been left in the dust. And so it's like the pre-medical school, postgraduate person is the one who shows up with this ability to make $500,000, $1 million, $2 million a year, whatever it might be. And so I think that's where that disconnect or that incongruency can come from, is just old mindsets. And again, some of it can go back to when you're a little kid. And it's like, hey, we had to eat hamburger helper and rice every night. Like that was life. Or we couldn't even afford that. It was Ritz crackers with butter on it. I don't know, whatever it might be. That can bring up a lot of really old thoughts. And I also think there's a lot of, we've talked about this before, 7-year-old Joe's really at the helm most of the time, subconsciously. It's the subconscious that runs so much. So if subconscious 7-year-old Joe's at the helm and 7-year-old subconscious Joe's got money issues, because of scarcity or whatever, I think that's what's showing up for people. I just think they haven't taken the time to really analyze it.
And I think it's a choice, right? Like, yes, we are programmed a certain way, but that can be the case for anything. And we can make the decision to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm going to approach this differently. And the more you act as if you are that way, the more you become that way. So I think the first step is just noticing, how do I feel when I open up my bank account, when I open up a bill, when I get paid or anything? It's like, if I feel this rising of anxiety or, I don't want to look at it, it's like, no, stop, take a breath. And it's like, I'm going to be so grateful for this. Thank you for this money. Thank you for this money going out. Like, two people, again, can have the same exact amount of money and one never enough. The other, it's like, I am so grateful. And I know we talk about this all the time, but like that posture of gratitude is what brings more and more abundance into your life. So make the decision to just look at it a different way. It sounds so simple. I know it's not as easy to do, but that is a really good first step.
Right. And our brains, like deep psychology suggests that our brains don't see negative. They see positive. If I say, don't look at the Shelby Cobra, what is your brain immediately is like, I have to look at that thing. Like it's our brains can't see the negative. And so it's the same thing like they train NASCAR drivers when in preparing for an accident, don't look at the accident or where you're going to hit, look to your recovery point. Same thing in cycling. Like if you're going downhill cycling really fast, you're not looking at your front tire, you're looking where you want to go and your body and bicycle will follow. And it's probably true with a lot of different things, but it's look at what you want. So if you want to feel peace around money, then you need to start focusing on peace, not the lack of peace. So it's just put your focus where you want it to be. I think our mindset around this has everything to do with the feelings that we're going to have. So therefore, pay attention to what, like you said, when this comes up, ask yourself, where are these feelings coming from?
Mm-hmm.
What was the origin of this?
And I think anxiety, we look at it as such a bad thing, but oftentimes anxiety is telling us that something isn't right and that we need to make a change. And so if you feel that anxiety, again, it's like, what is the root cause of that? And so often we'll just not want to look at it. So we'll just distract ourselves. And what brought this as a topic really is as I've worked with more and more members, I have a few in particular. So we've talked about this path that we take people down and this process. And a big part of it is your member atlas, which is your whole financial life on one big document. And then from there, when we know where you're starting from, we can put plans in place to maximize all of it. Many of our members have gone through this process and become so enlightened and they've got plans in place that we're implementing. But I've got a few dragging their feet who have been members with me for 2+ years now and have never wanted to look at this because they know they're in debt or they know they're big spenders and they do not want to change that spending. So I had one in particular over the past couple of weeks. He was in my inbox and he's like, I'm so proud of myself. I finally did my homework and it took a few hours and it took overcoming some fear, but I did it. And I opened up his document and had all of his spending by category. And I told him how proud I was of him because I knew how hard that was for him. So he was feeling that anxiety and he finally let it drive him to take a different action.
Yes. And I think you bring up a really important thing. People tend to fear what they don't understand. That's the origin of a lot of fear. We've talked about this before. I'm like, I don't understand snakes. Snakes are scary to me. There are people who handle snakes all the time where it's not scary to them. Money, for a lot of people, they don't understand. Therefore, they have fear. Am I going to have enough? Am I doing the right things? Whatever it might be. So some of this is gaining that level of education so that you can feel comfortable with that. And it might be a new experience for you. You've started making a ton of money in your career, and that might be new for you as well, where you're still getting used to that. I don't know, the earning training wheels came off and you're still getting used to riding that bike. Well, let's take it all into consideration and get your education to match where your earning potential is right now.
Yes, absolutely. Because the more education and knowledge you have, the more you expand into this person who's capable of holding what you've been given. We do talk about that a lot. Like you're behind, you're in debt, you're going to medical school, and then boom, suddenly you get your first job and you're making more than you ever thought you would. And so lifestyle creep comes in real fast, keeping up. And part of that is like, yeah, you deserve that. You've worked really hard for that. But at the same time, now your mindset has to catch up, which is so much of what our membership is about. You know, we like to say we help you play the game the way the wealthy do, but wealthy people have a high wealth mindset and they're able to hold that wealth. So how do you start doing that? It's every day taking those little steps to look at your financial situation and learn things so that you feel more peaceful and able to hold it.
Well, and I think there's another, I'll call it an underlying issue. So many Americans in particular have a lot of shame around money. And some of it has to do with like, oh, the choices that I made or regretting decisions, whether it was if I had gone in a corporate route, perhaps I would have been further ahead than going, through more debt and more schooling. Or if I hadn't made this investment 10 years ago, I would be here. I think a lot of people have to overcome what I would call shame around money. And that perspective and mindset is not helpful to people. Shame is not a useful feeling to have. And so I think just coming to terms with it is okay. Like, just like you said, Erin, like bring the whole situation up. Look at the whole situation and say, cool, this is where I'm at. Where do I go from here? And that's the piece that I think people want to bury their head in the sand about, is they don't want to look at it because the shame is there. It's a sensitive topic. It's like that wound has never healed. You take the Band-Aid off and it's still oozing. A graphic illustration, but I really think that's what's going on. I think that's the root cause of people wanting to avoid this. So if you can take a moment, if you're feeling that way when I say those things and that resonates with you, I just want to ask you, give yourself grace. You are at where you're at right now because that's exactly where you are supposed to be. There is no other pathway. You are where you need to be. What they say, your mess becomes your message. So there are other people who feel the same way that you feel currently. You're going to work yourself through this process. You're going to forgive yourself of past mistakes. You're going to move out of shame and into peace when it comes to money, because you're going to follow a process to get there and a plan to get there. Then your mess becomes your message, and you can share that with other people who are going to need to hear from you, doctor. It's going to be another doctor down the road who's feeling how you are now, and they just want that encouragement. Can I get to a place where I don't feel this way? Yes, you can do that. But you've got to break that mindset, and you've got to choose to look at where you're at now and have a plan to move forward. We can help you with that.
I love that, Joe. And you can change the past in an instant today by changing the story that you tell about it. And that doesn't have to be a long process. It's another line in the sand type thing. You know, Bob Wolf talks about this all the time. It's like there are no failures. You learned from things. And I love my members who actually have those. I can think of one right now. Terrible mistake with an investment and regrets doing it. He kind of knew he shouldn't have. It was like a little shady. And he's like, well, you know, it'll be fine. Like, I learned from it. I'm like, heck yeah. It's better to make a mistake and learn from it. When you know better, you do better, but you can stop judging yourself and having all that shame. Just decide, okay, I learned. I'm going to do better starting from now. When we talk about shame, we've talked about this on the podcast before too, but I think there is some shame with some people with wanting to make more money or making a lot of money. And this is like a personal topic I could talk about so much, because I will never understand the shame surrounding wanting more or even chasing more. I mean, we don't want to chase things to the detriment of our health or our marriage or anything like that. But we're put here for a reason. We're put here to make an impact, and we should be compensated for that value we give to the world. And the more money you have, the more money in the hands of good people, the more we can change the world for the better. You're not going to change the world by having only enough, just getting by. So there should be no shame about wanting to increase that wealth too for generations to come. But you're not going to do it if you're fearful around money or you don't want to look at it.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, the concept of money is just stored energy. That's all it is. You invest your time. The beauty of you, doctor, is that you have poured into yourself through furthering education, residency, specialty training, all the things that you've done. You have increased your ability to add value to an hour. I tell this to my kids all the time. Ariotos don't get paid by the hour. We get paid by the value we bring to that hour. And so now there are times where my kids have a job and they are getting paid by the hour, but that's not their mindset. So you, doctor, have poured into yourself, so you've increased your capacity to add value to an hour. Therefore, you make more money. And ideally, it's a lot more than what you need to live your life, thereby allowing you to store more and more energy. Some of that release can be through accomplishing the financial goals that you've got. Cool. We are able to do this thing now as a family, or buy this home, or buy whatever it might be. But the other way to release that energy too is through charitable giving. You know, it amazes me when people choose to become philanthropically generous financially and with their time, something magical happens. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. I'm a Christian, but I believe there's something magical in this where it, like, money releases its power on you. Most people, money's got a chokehold on your neck, and it's scary and it's intimidating and all those things. The fastest way to break that death grip on your neck is through giving. And so it's another way that I would encourage you. If you haven't done that before, just start small, but that stored energy you're releasing back into the world through giving to individuals or organizations or whatever it might be. So I think there are some kind of cheat codes when it comes to money. You've already cracked the first code, which is how do I add more value to an hour, thereby earning more than I need to live my life. So again, topic we could talk about for literally for days and helping people break through. But I think the main thing someone should take away from this conversation is just ask yourself, do I have a healthy mindset around money? Do I feel shame or guilt? Do I feel anything other than peace? If so, what's that blockage and how do I work through it?
I love it. Thanks for all that, Joe. So Doc, if today's conversation made you think or it helped you realize something new about your relationship with money, we would love to hear that in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss another episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. I know I did. Thanks for listening. And until next time, go be a wealth maverick.